presentation is we'll have a brief question and answer period in which I'm going to log the main questions and responses, and then our ratings group at the Drug Users Resource Center will compile a report and email it out to everyone who attended. Also, I thought I'd let you know that we are filming this. April Smith is our budding young filmmaker. So if you don't want to be on camera during any of the periods, please just let us know, and you won't be. Yeah, it's like this. So does anyone have any questions for Dr. Whynot for this, in regards to this report? Yes?
I'm not quite sure.
I did not. The question was, did we even examine the issue of legal matters and disclosure? And certainly there's been a lot of concern lately because it's the cases in front of the Supreme Court.
Sure.
We didn't talk about that, and that's a whole other important issue. Yes.
What about women in prison system or the, like different facilities where you have any?
The question is, what about women in prisons and facilities? In the consultation, people certainly mentioned that group of people. I wasn't, there were groups that were describing those problems, right? I did pick up a recommendation in this report, and I think that is another place that really requires this. It's a bit like, it's another community of people, right? People who come back and forth, and people who are quite vulnerable. And so I acknowledge that we didn't recommend, partly because the pressure was on to focus just on the city, but it doesn't make sense because people go back and forth. Good question, and I'm sorry I didn't address that.
Thank you.
Two things. I have a comment as well as a question. I guess my comment is I think there's a couple of agencies that are missing down here when you're talking about how agencies are always fighting among each other and taking up their own space rather than getting together. And it's nice to see a lot of agencies now where they actually sit down and get it together. But my question is, I didn't see anything about HIV mothers, HIV women that are pregnant or going to give birth.
Yeah, I mean, the context of the question was, what about this community? And I must say we were making some assumptions about what was already there, right? So you heard about the prenatal testing. We also have existing the She-Wave program and the Oak Tree program for women who actually are positive during pregnancy. I didn't get into this in the presentation, but when we talk about bringing together the service providers, the health service providers, providing care for women, one of the concerns was that, among other things, we would have a unified approach, or clear, coherent approach for women who were pregnant and positive. You'll hear from Juanita later about what happens at Oak Tree. So we did have the She-Wave program in place and the Oak Tree program in place. The question for me was whether everybody's getting into that system as quickly as they should. But the information is that if women do go, and when women get treatment before the baby is born, we actually have zero transmission from mother to baby, for example. But remember all those gendered things, right? It's not easy to be a woman. Often women may have families that may be single moms. So there are all those other issues. And then, of course, if they happen to be positive and pregnant, even if their baby doesn't pick up the infection, they have all sorts of obligations to come back and work with the clinic. There's all those kinds of things that I don't know if people heard your earlier comment, but you were saying that you thought that it wasn't always, that agencies don't always work well together, and it's good to see people here from different agencies.
Very much. For example, I've been HIV for 25 years. One of the survivor of the start of HIV, I believe, and all that. And at that time down here, there were even PWA or AIDS, BC, they were down here. So I was left on my own for many years, and now that I'm a member of Native Health, things like that. Well, Native Health, I don't see too many people from Native Health here, which I thought it would make a big difference, but I guess they have their own thing going, right? Things like that, and think that they should have been here as well, but that's just my personal belief. Thought for myself, my life is a lot easier now with the agency.
Because they're more accessible. That's one other thing about accessibility. Is that if
Yeah, that is stigma.
Yeah, that's right.
Very much.
Great. Yes.
Do you feel that your recommended plans and actions were followed through? Let's say, keep it simple on a scale of 1 to 10. In context to your gender plan, First Nations plan, as well as your pathway standard that you've recommended?
You know what, I'm going to say what consultants say, I don't know. I think mostly not, but I mean, on the other hand, that doesn't mean that a lot of people that doesn't mean that a lot of people that are involved in the testing programs and all those kinds of things aren't very much gender aware. And I think you're going to hear about that as well, because, so just to say that one of the things you get to do when you're one of these plans is you just get to give them the plan. So other people to do it and to follow that. Yes, do you have how many more questions, Coco?
2 more questions.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
We have a fellow here and somebody over here.
Okay.
Recommendation, did you make any provisions for transgender?
No, I didn't address the issue of transgender. But you know, I think that if you take a gendered approach, you know, I mean, I was asked to talk about women. I did not the complexities of women by choice, but I have to say that a truly gendered approach would take that into account. You know, so in other words, that's why the word gendered is a bit neutral in the sense that, you know, people would either say what does it mean to do a women's-centered service, and those questions should be asked. But I think when you think about gendered, you really do you give yourself the ability to look at some of the more complex issues. There's a question over here, I think. No? Okay, we might be finished over here.